on until 2007, Topeka had an ordinance that was called unlawful possession of firearms, whatever the exact title was. Kyle Smith is the attorney for the police department and a legal advisor to us, an assistant city attorney. And he came with me in case you had specific legal questions, because I'm really not a lawyer. But the fact of the matter is, he banned unlawful possession of firearms openly in the city from 1981 to 2007. In about 2007, the city adopted what's called UPOC, the Uniform Public Offense Code. And they repealed a bunch of ordinances and used the Uniform Public Offense Code, which is based on what the state law said. They repealed a whole bunch of stuff. A number of them. Kyle can tell you what they were that were all repealed, because there was a companion ordinance at the state level that, whether it was trespassing or whether it was theft or whatever it was, the city just adopted the state code, Uniform Public Offense Code. In the process of that, they repealed a bunch of city ordinances automatically to follow UPOC. One of those ordinances that they adopted, one of those ordinances in that UPOC code, was the unlawful possession of firearms, open carry. And that got repealed. It didn't get repealed on purpose. It got thrown in the pile with a bunch of other stuff that was in there. And we researched with city council members and the assistant city attorney at the time, with the actual city attorney at the time, who doesn't work for us anymore, what was the intent of that ordinance. And we haven't found anybody that said that they intentionally repealed that ordinance. It just got thrown out with a number of other ordinances when they adopted the state code. And the state code doesn't prohibit it. So this came to our attention through a couple of pretty interesting incidents, but it came to our attention. And we said, we think that the city council should decide this matter, and not by accident. We fell into this thing backwards. It was not the intent of the city council to abolish this ordinance that has been in place for almost 30 years. If nobody intentionally repealed this ordinance, we think that it should be reinstituted and that it should be submitted to the city council for review for them to decide. I have confidence in the city council and their ability to handle touchy issues. Let's let them decide. We'll put the ordinance in front of them, let them decide how this should be done. There really isn't a lot of, I suppose there's some emotion connected to this on the right to keep and bear arms and all that kind of thing. But this really has nothing to do with that. The Second Amendment and a variety of those things, the courts have ruled over the years, over 100 years, that the states have a right to regulate that. And the states should regulate that. And individual cities have the right, depending on where they are in the country, what their voters want to do, or what their elected officials want to do. So it's a states' rights and a municipal rights issue. So the point is, we just think the city council should decide it. We are looking for clarification from the council. If they want open carry of firearm in Topeka by anybody who is 18 or older, with no regulation, no license, no training, no requirements, none of those things. If they want that, we're fine with that. As your chief law enforcement officer, my job is to bring that to their attention, let them decide, do the research, have them decide what they want. We're just looking for clarification so that we'll know how to act. The ordinance, when it was repealed, was clearly unintended. My question or my comment to them was they should make an intentional decision, whatever that is. And they should decide what they want to do. We'll act accordingly. It's like, I appreciate Fred making the comment that this really isn't a debate. This really isn't a Second Amendment issue. It really is not, because possession of weapons in your home and ownership and having them in your business and how to carry in cars and all that kind of stuff is already law. This is about no regulation or restriction on anybody who's 18 or older deciding that they're going to carry a handgun, a rifle, or shotgun and walk around the public spaces of Topeka with no training, no background investigation, nothing. We think that the City Council should decide how that's to be handled so that we will know, all of us, the community and the law enforcement officers, can act accordingly. There's one other little point, and then I'll stop, which is you may have heard that this ordinance bans paintball guns and BB guns and compressed air projectiles, bows and arrows, and all that. This ordinance really has nothing to do with that. This only has to do with fire combustion devices, firearms. That's really all we're talking about. Now, just so you know, all those other things are already banned in other ordinances. Paintball guns, compressed air rifle, BB guns, all those things are already banned in other sections because the UPOC code doesn't address those. So the city has ordinances that prohibit all of them. So this really isn't about any of that. This really isn't about the power it gives to the police chief. This doesn't give any power to the police chief on firearms ordinance. The paintball thing does, but it already exists. That law already exists. We think that this was an oversight. We're suggesting to the City Council that they should address it. We're asking for clarification. What do you want? What's your position on this so we'll know how to act? And if there are individuals who walk in the public spaces of Topeka, if there are individuals who walk through your neighborhood who are carrying firearms, and if they're not a convicted felon and they're over 18 and they're not mentally disabled and all that other, it's perfectly legal. So if you have somebody walking in front of your house that's carrying a firearm, whether that be Southeast, Oakland, or Wanamaker, Clarion Woods, if you have somebody walking on the streets, we think the community and the law enforcement officers need to know, is that lawful? Is that not lawful? If it is not lawful, then it won't hurt if it won't do it. If it is lawful, then we need to know that so the police officers will know how to act when you call and tell us there's a guy out in front of your house that's walking up and down the street with a gun. We're going to tell him, yes, that's legal. We may respond and check it out, but that's legal, and there's nothing the police can do about it. And even if we go check the person out and determine them to be legal, we're driving away, and that person's still going to be walking in your